you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Hey man, welcome back to the Midnight Hustle. I'm DieHard Derek. My next guest, you've seen him. He's coming to the stage. You know this guy, man. ECW original, one of the Baldies, the kingpin of the streets, Angel Medina. What's going on, my brother? How you been?
What's up, Derek, man? How is everything, man? It's great to see you. I mean, like, dude, 30 years, man. We know each other
30 years,
for 30
man.
years.
Long time.
You had
to roll
hair.
Kid
I
Onion
didn't
back
have.
in the day.
Yeah, you had hair. I didn't have hair.
I know.
Yeah.
Different times, man. I had a receding hairline. I had a little some plugs up there, whatever. But fuck, man, 30 years. Man. That's crazy. Hold on, we got to give it up for the man. He's coming to the stage. Hold on. Can we get a little bit for Angel? Appreciate it. Thank you. That's the live non-studio audience. So
About being bald is when I first started wrestling and started doing the bald gimmick and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, I have pictures. You can still see the line. And then years later, my daughter tells me, "Hey, Dad, have you ever grown your hair? I mean, when's the last time you saw it?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it was jet black.
Mhm.
You should let it see what it looks like, salt and pepper." And when I let that hair grow and I saw this damn cul-de-sac building, I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm going bald."
So it's funny you say my kids have never seen me with hair. They've seen photos, but like they're like, "Yo, let it grow out." So when the fuzz comes in, you said you have the cul-de-sac. I've got like the little mohawk with a 2-car garage. You've got the horseshoe that goes all the way
Yeah,
around?
you can see it. It's fading at
Oh,
the top, but you see the horseshoe, but you see it's light. Like when you touch the top of the hair, you're like, okay, there's a little bit of hair, peach fuzz still
Right.
there.
Now
But
I'm even losing the shit in the middle too. So I'm like, I'm taking it off. That's embarrassing. I can't fuck with that.
But the funny thing is, my daughter was telling me, like, why are you so upset? It's like the Seinfeld episode where the guy was like, I'm going bald. And,
Right.
it's just like, this was my choice. I did it for the gimmick.
Yeah.
Now I have to keep it up forever because I'm
Uh-huh.
bald. It was
And
just
it's funny because you did it in the 90s and bald wasn't really the thing. And shaved down, crew cut, keeping high and tight was the way the look. But because of the gimmick, the Baldies, you shaved it. So I remember you with hair. I've got photos of you with hair.
Yeah.
But you've been rocking the bald look forever.
Oh, yeah,
for 30
forever,
years.
man.
Yeah.
But like you said, your kids never see you with hair. My daughter never seen me with hair.
Nah.
Only old pictures from back in the days.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm happy being bald. So don't have to worry
easier,
about
man.
shampoo.
It's
Yeah,
cheaper.
it's easier. Yeah.
Man, so before we got rolling, we were talking about, you delved in, you're still wrestling, but you delved into the podcast business. You were talking about the previous podcast that you had, Wrestling with Tragedy. That was actually on the Russo brand for a little while, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Vince Russo took us under his wing. I mean, it was great doing a collaboration with him. Stevie Richards was there. Francine was there before she left. It was a Disco Inferno. So it was a lot of athletes that was on the brand. It's just that things didn't work out so well again with that situation. Nothing negative. It's just that there was no financial gain out of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's funny. His brand's grown. So when he first started doing his thing, when he was starting to build a brand with Jeff Lane, Vince, again, another guy that I've known for 30 years, he was a big mentor for me and a big advocate for me when I was breaking into the business. He saw that I was busting my ass. He was like, "Yo, this kid's gonna do something." Like, not that I fucking did anything remotely interesting, but he's always been in my life during my wrestling career. So when I saw him doing it, I was like, "Hey, Vince," I hit him up. We've always maintained that communication. I was like, "Hey, Vince, I would love to be a part of this, just to contribute. I'm really not doing much in wrestling anymore at the moment, but for me to give an opinion or to do interviews, I'd love to do that for you." But at the time, he didn't have the crew that he's got right now. Like you said, the Stevie Richards, the Stevie Rays, the Francines, yourself. Back then, it was just him and Jeff Lane, but he was hiring a bunch of fanboys, and they were giving content. And the thing is that Vince was such a big fan of Howard Stern that after a while, I started to feel like he was treating us like his whack pack.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not that. Like, dude, you and I have been friends. You, like I said, you were my mentor for a long time. Not that I felt disrespected, but I felt out of place. Like, here I am busting my ass to give content with my experience and things that I've done in the business, but I'm lumped in with all these other characters who've never done anything, and they're wacky. And I'm like, I got to back away from this because not that I have a brand of my own, but I just didn't feel like, I don't want to be that guy like, yo, I'm above that, but I kind of done a little more than these guys have ever done. And for me to get lost in that shuffle, it's not the deck of cards I want to be in.
No, absolutely. You're talking about the Howard Stern situation. I saw something on YouTube where the guys behind the scenes said, dude, we weren't getting paid. We were, like you said, they were the whack pack. Baba Booey and other guys, and they were not getting paid. I mean, from the stories I heard on the YouTube, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that, but you never know what's behind the curtain until you just pull it back,
Yeah, man. It was fun. The other problem I was having was that I was still in contact with a lot of the talent out there. So I'd reach out to like Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, do an interview with him. We had done a video interview. I'd posted up on the thing. Vince, hey man, can't do this. I got heat with this guy. I'm not promoting anything he does. So anytime I would bring something that had click value to his site, I'd just be like, hey man, I got this great interview. He's like, yeah, but me and him don't get along. I don't want him on my site. I'm like, I need a list of everybody you got heat with, because now you're putting me into a corner where I don't know what I can do outside of just looking at a scenario and giving my perspective and my objective thoughts towards it, or whatever the case was. But if I'm bringing in talent so that to help your brand, I got to clear it by you now too. I just this is too much for nothing.
And I see your interview with Booker T. I bumped into that one. I know it was old, but it was so good. It was so good. Like I said, you were out there. Like I said, I always bump into you when I'm just surfing and clicking away and just, going down the rabbit hole and just keep clicking. Then I bump into, oh, wow, it's Derek, or, oh, my God, it's Kid Onion from back in the 90s wrestling, and stuff. And, but Kid Onion is doing good, man. He's,
is he?
He had a hip replacement surgery. And, I mean, the one person that's undefeated is Father Time. You can never put his shoulders on the mat. So so he has a lot of bumps and bruises and stuff that he had to get replaced and fixed and stuff. Well, like me, I had knee surgery, shoulder surgery. I had my ankle partially fused.
Oh, shit. All right.
But it was arthritis, and stuff like that. Yeah. And but guys say you can still wrestle. You can still do what you want. I do judo. So I do judo too, and it's just my foot doesn't have the subtalar joint, the bottom, the heel doesn't have that, flexion. So, but I still don't notice it unless I step really the wrong way. And
so like the ankle's like the old school Star Wars, the Kenner Star Wars. It's not like the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip anymore. You're saying you can't. Yeah, it doesn't have the points of articulation.
Yeah, I cannot tell I have my ankle fused. I could do everything, but if I twist it a certain way, like my foot doesn't want to turn that way.
Okay. All right. So tell me, we talked about it a little bit before, and I wasn't sure if you were still doing that Wrestling with Tragedy podcast. I think the last time I took a look at it, it's been like 2 years since there was an update there. And joking around, I'm saying, like, when I first saw it, I was like, I'm so glad, because you yourself are articulate, and you're a great speaker. So I've always been baffled why you never transitioned to like more of a commentary role or a manager role to be somebody's mouthpiece. But I was glad to see you in the podcasting space, because again, you've got a great mind for the business. You know how to articulate it. You know how to take old school references and make them relevant again today. But when I saw Wrestling with Tragedy, I was like, I'm real curious about this. And when I was looking at the episodes, I'm like, I don't see tragedy. I see more controversy. I see, if you were wrestling with controversy, like, damn, that really sucks that happened. But at the end of the day, that was more self-inflicted. That could have been avoided. So to me, a tragedy is something that wasn't avoidable, that you weren't expecting, that impacted so many people in such a negative way, that you just didn't see it coming. When you have wrestlers that are doing steroids, or they're drug addicts, or whatever the case may be, it's not a tragedy. You fucked up. That you got to own that. But then I started doing a deeper dive, and I was really like, oh, the investigative background, because I saw the case numbers, and I see that what you're doing is making it more like a crime scene, that your career is a crime scene. It may not necessarily be a tragedy that occurred, but from who you are, who you were, what your potential is, and what your potential could have been, it's a tragic state of affairs in seeing the path that you took and where you ended up, because there was so much potential there. And then you're taking that investigative nature, saying, hey, this is where you fucked up. Here's where you could have done something better. Here's where things went off the rails. And I started to click it together there. Tell me about why you thought Wrestling with Tragedy was something that, considering the success of Dark Side of the Ring, was it something that, you were like, hey, controversy gets clicks, let's talk about this shit, or because you had inside knowledge to some of these scenarios?
No, I do have inside knowledge of those scenarios, but a lot of the podcast shows are always the same thing and is regurgitated all the time, meaning, regardless who it is, DDP. Hey, DDP, who you train with? What you did? You were a bouncer. Right. You did it. And the next show is the same question. There was no meat. on the bone to keep a person interested in the story, because everybody knows the story. I trained with Johnny Roz, I wrestled with Vito, Taz. You know, I mean, after I say it so many times, people go, why should I watch it?
Yeah.
So I came to an idea, like, why not, instead of like talking about wrestling, let's just talk about the things that happen in wrestling of these individuals that they were led astray, you know, from the drug addictions to the heat they had in the ring, or the suicides, and you know, because again, I've been there in the locker room when I noticed those things. You know, I can understand why certain people did certain things. You know, why did people take New Bane because they didn't want to lose their spot, because if they said they were hurt, they think somebody else is going to come in and take their position. So, you know, people don't understand, like, when they go, wow, you know, why did he do that? You know, that drug, why did he dig coke? You know, I'm not condoning it. I just see it from that perspective, like, well, you know, he needs that edge, falling off that like New Jack falling off the scaffold with Vic Grimes. You can't be sober to do that.
Right, no. And here's the thing, though, is that, you know, you're however many years removed from it, let's say 30 years from that scaffold incident that happened in ECW, do you look back on it and think that maybe at the time you had a responsibility to speak up then look back at it now and like, fuck, man, if back then I would have known, but you were right there. You saw it happen. You were involved. You were in the locker room. Do you have a little bit of regret in saying maybe I should have pulled that guy to the side and things might have changed for him?
I don't think I had the voice for it, meaning I didn't have the credentials to say what I wanted to say. You know, I couldn't go to a New Jack and tell him, because he already, you know, became a pillar of the ECW community, and I was just not hanging on to his coattails. I was just being led by him to my success.
Right.
So I didn't want to bite the hand that feeds you, you know.
Right. He was like the lead, you were the supporting character in that feud.
Yeah, because he didn't have to do anything with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
He made that decision, like, hey, I want to do something with him. So I didn't have that power, you know, to speak my mind. Now, if it was a Tony DeVito or a Vic Grimes or people that, or Doring, Chetty, you know, I mean, they were names, but I built a close relationship with them to speak what I wanted to speak. But those guys never did anything, so there was nothing.
Right, there's no interference there, right?
You know,
like, you good? All right.
Yeah, everybody was good. I mean, the only thing about I never was into drugs. I mean, once in a while I took some pain pills because I was really hurting a beer, but I never was into pills. I get sick. You know, I have what's the word I'm looking for? If I take pain pills, it gets me sick.
Okay.
The only thing that never got me sick was somas, and I didn't want to be dependent on it, because I saw, so like, first you take 2 and you feel great, then months later, 2 is not working, 3, 4, 5.
Right,
and I've seen guys take like 20, not at the same time, but just popping them while they're drinking a beer. And I just didn't want to fall into that situation. The only problem I had was women. I'm not gonna lie. I was living
that was your fucking downfall.
Yeah, I would have been the David Carradine. Like, did you hear Angel was tied up in the closet? You know, dead. You know, that would have been my
you wrapping fucking belts around your neck while you're getting blown in the closet. What's going on?
Yeah, there you go. You know, you're stepping on my crotch with high heels. You know.
Oh, you're like, fuck it, I'll try it once. I'm a hardcore legend, man.
So that's the only thing that I could see, like, oh, he had a heart attack having sex with 4 girls, that type of thing.
Right. You know, OD'd on Viagra. Fuck.
Yeah, I never drank, really. I didn't take no pills. I never caused no controversy. I was just straight. I was focused. But after the show, I hooked up and did my own thing.
You don't have any bastard children out there, do you?
As far as I know, but you know what? Even if I did, they're at an age where they can't collect.
It's that fucking, whatever they call that time frame where it's like, listen, you had that 18-year max. There was a window there.
Yeah, because my daughter Leah, she's 18. She spells the same name as your daughter, but she says Leia. Leah gets mad when you call her Leia.
Oh, really?
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
My daughter hates Star Wars. She's like, oh, like Princess Leia. She's like, motherfuckers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
when teachers call her, hey, Leia, no, it's Leah. It's spelled the same fucking way. She hates Leia because they've referenced Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't do that on purpose. I got her name because of I was watching a movie, don't know the name of the movie, but Leah Thompson, the actress. And then she spelled it L-E-A. And it popped. Oh,
L-E-A, right, yeah.
Yeah, I like that name. And then played with words and got Leah out of it.
Yeah, man. So you haven't like walked around the streets of Philly and seen a girl and like she kind of looks like me, or some little.
The only time that ever
Who's your
happened,
mama? Show me a picture.
You know what's funny? Balls Mahoney's ex-girlfriend or wife, yeah, I think it was girlfriend. Wrestled ECW, and then we did a show for Francine called oh my god, Wrestling's with Legends, whatever. Okay. And this is like years later, and I was at the ECW arena, and this girl comes up to me. She goes, "Hey, Angel, how you doing?" And I'm like, okay. She goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I'm like, and the first thing that came out of my mouth is, "I don't have any kids with you, right? I didn't sleep with you." She goes, "No." And the only reason I didn't recognize her is because she was heavy set at the time, and she lost a lot of weight, and she did this whole makeover thing, and she didn't look like the girl. I was like, holy shit,
Oh, so she looked better.
She looked way better. Like
you should have thrown a shot then. Like fucking just.
I don't want to do anything that Balls Mahoney dipped his giggle stick in.
Okay, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Balls. I remember you told me a story a long time ago. I don't know if you could tell it here, but I'm just gonna say it was a rough story. I think it involved Balls Mahoney and a fan's wife that was in a wheelchair.
Oh, the wheelchair story. Yeah. That story. I mean, I know I probably said it a couple times, but that story is funny because I was one of my rules was I never try to get the same hotel room on the same floor with the boys, because the party usually always goes to your room. They bounce around. So I always got let's say if they were on the first floor, hey, put me on the second floor, the third floor, all the way opposite from them.
Yep.
So the funny thing is that I get a phone call in my room. DeVito was sharing a room and stuff, but DeVito wasn't there. And they were like, "Hey, man, you got to come down to room 122. For what? I can't tell you. You got to come see this shit." So when I went downstairs, now the story that was building up to it, what I found out later is that Balls hooked up with this guy who was a paraplegic from the waist down, and his wife, and they were doing coke, and they got stoned, and the guy, I guess his ambition was like, "Yeah, you could fuck my wife and whatever." And what they did was so what they did is they put the brakes on his wheelchair because he had this like seatbelt gimmick on it. They put the brakes and they pushed the bed that pinned the wheelchair. So the other bed, I guess he was so coked out of it because they were fucking his wife, and he's just like reaching and clawing, "Oh, my wife," and he's crying. And I'm looking at this like, oh man, if there were camera phones or videos at this time, we would all been in jail. But I was just like, this is not right. I got to get out of here.
So that's funny because that's on my list of things that I want to talk to you about. Is that, again, we've known each other 30 years, and at the time, ECW was in its infancy. WWE was just transitioning from the cartoon circus that they had into the Attitude Era. But there were no cell phones. I mean, the internet was out there, but it's word of mouth. But
we had cell phones, but we had the Samsung with the snake
there's nothing.
Hanging off your fanny pack. That's it. There was no camera on it.
A little flip phone. That's it. You couldn't even take pictures with them until like the early 2000s. But if we had the technology, we had an iPhone, we had a GoPro, you had social media, you can stream live on Instagram or Twitter. What kind of shit you think? I mean, ECW probably would have been shut down immediately. Who would have been canceled?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but it's funny though. The stories, these things I've seen, the crazy womanizing, cockhold orgy stories. None of these women has ever come forward and says, "Hey, this happened. The Rock did this. Stone Cold did that. Kingpin Angel did this." Not one. Not one. It's just so weird how now celebrities are like, "Oh yeah, he did this," and no proof. Just say he did it. We hooked up and we went out to dinner, and that night this is what happened, and then he gets thrown in jail for somebody just went to jail for something like that. I forgot who. But it was just like there's no proof. After 30 years or whatever, 15 years, you come out of nowhere and say this happened, and you trying to remember like, yeah, we hooked up. I think we went out to dinner. We did some coke, that type of, you're like.
And that's the thing is that if she's still a wrestling fan now, one, she's got to take ownership of the fact that she was a rat. Not trying to sound like a misogynist, but let's call a fucking spade a spade. And then on top of that is that she probably saw somebody that she was fucking in ECW, and now they're on the Raw roster and driving his own personal bus. She's like, oh, I can cash in. A lot of the ECW guys aren't there anymore. A lot of the ECW guys aren't even alive. They're not on the main roster. They're like, what's the point? What am I going to get out of this if I start talking about what happened 30 years ago?
But look at all the stories in regards to like Pat Patterson or Vince McMahon and or
But they're at that higher
Taz.
level. They're at that
Yeah.
higher level, though.
But they never
You know,
got
there's a
hit.
check. There's a settlement.
Yeah, behind
Hush
the
money?
scenes. Yeah, hush
Mhm.
money. But yeah, man, in the wrestling world, I never seen anything besides Nunzio. That happened. Something came out with him years ago, and I forgot who else. But that was found that it was false and
Yeah.
stuff. But like I said, the wrestling business is different compared to like look at the fucking like music industry.
Mhm.
Kiss,
Dude,
Def
Diddy
Leppard.
just got crushed, and shit's coming out now.
Yeah, I just heard about that, but I didn't really follow through. I just heard that the 17-year-old made allegations in regards to a gangbang type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's all I read. I don't know if they could share footage or like, like I don't know the whole story.
And even though we're talking wrestling, but the whole thing on this Diddy thing is that a couple of weeks prior, somebody had accused him of rape. The day it dropped, the next day he cut a check. So this girl was like, fuck it, I'm getting paid too.
I am never cutting a check. Because when you cut a check, like, this is one thing I hate about
That's
people.
guilt.
Yeah, it's guilt. But what I hate is like, even if you didn't do nothing wrong, I hate when people come out of nowhere and go, if I did anything to offend you or gave you any indication, I'm sorry. That was not my intent. Once you, regardless if you're innocent, once you say something like that, you're guilty. Like the Joey Ryan.
Yeah, the dick flip guy.
The dick flip guy. All these girls saying all this shit, but you ask in the match, you go, hey man, we're gonna do this. My gimmick is, you grab my cock, and is that okay? Yeah, I don't see a problem. Then later became a problem.
With the other word, I just heard of the allegations that he was getting aggressive with girls, like after the show, like, hey, did you see my match? You can do the dick flip too, and it was like unwarranted. I didn't hear that the talent that he was in the ring with were actually. Like, I wasn't cool with that move, but he insisted that that the dick flip is so over that I had to go grab his dick in the middle of the match because it's one of his spots. It's one of his signature spots.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this, man. I've done a lot of things that I regret. Nothing bad, nothing like crazy like that. But like, I did womanize, and I did talk down to certain women, and kicked them out of my room in the middle of in the winter at the Red Roof Inn. See the snow coming in Buffalo, and you're like, hey man, get out. Well, I'm gonna get the cab. There's a payphone down on the corner, and she's trucking through the snow. Do I feel bad now? Yeah, but back then,
I left a girl at a toll booth. Crossing the Verrazano, that toll booth there.
Yeah,
she was talking shit after the whole night. I was like, all right, get the fuck out. Left at the toll booth in the cold.
Yeah,
I'm not proud of it. It happened though.
But she could spin that story to whatever and say, "Oh, I got out the car because whatever," and
right. I was trying to escape him, and then I saw he had a badge even though he was collecting coins. Whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's just allegation. Allegation is an allegation, not proof.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. But anyway, and that's the only thing in the wrestling business is just I'm surprised that none of that ever.
The reason why I'm going down that road is because obviously the technology and social media play such a big factor into it today. But if you were of this generation, between all the womanizing, all the shit was going on, how would you handle that with this woke and cancel culture right now? I mean, I understand what's going on, and I'm an advocate for all the people out there who've been hurt, where they've been power plays, where they've been aggressive, where beyond their will. But sometimes you're just fucking around. Sometimes you're just flirting, and it's just like, all right, that's not the way it always was. Like, you can't call a girl sweetheart. You can't say certain things. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry. Did that offend you? You got to fucking double check. Being a wrestler or a celebrity, somebody who's on TV, somebody who people are throwing themselves at and want to be in your presence, how would you handle that now with this new culture?
But since I'm old school and you know me for 30 years, I still live that New York City mindset. I really don't give two fucks. If you say, if I say something to offend you, go fuck yourself. Yep. And that's the thing. I'm not going to be like, I'm sorry I offended you, but even if I won't talk like that, I say, hey man, if I offended you, I'm sorry, but don't get it all twisted that I'm going to be here like kissing your ass, like that. But it's just, I don't believe in that woke thing. You want to cancel me? Try to cancel me. I don't give a fuck. I got nothing to lose,
what are you going to take? It's like that scene in Rocky V. I'll sue you for what? Take it. I don't give a fuck.
That's the only thing. I don't believe in the woke. I mean, so many things. What's a woman, and all this bullshit. And women playing football, men going into the women's sports and swimming and, and stuff like that. And Yeah, it's a dude, man. Regardless if you cut off the testosterone and you do an estrogen, he will always still have an edge because you're not gonna fucking drain all the testosterone out of him. So he's a man. He has the bone structure.
Right.
Look at oh my god, now I forgot the wrestler from WWE that transitioned to a woman. Gabby.
I know. I forget his name.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
She did the whole thing, the surgery, the voice box, the shots. But I bet you if she gets me a right hook, I'm gonna be like, holy shit.
Right. It's still there. It's still there. Like, listen, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but if I apply to the Special Olympics, I'm dunking on those little fuckers. All right.
Yeah.
It's different. But I don't even want to go down that road because the last thing I want is somebody to pull a fucking clip from this podcast. Like, yo, did you hear what Angel said about woke and cancel and women? Fuck, let's get back into wrestling.
I'll be the fucking the guy from what's that movie, The Ringer?
Yeah, right.
That would be me,
Yeah, man. So we were talking earlier about the tragedies in the ring. So it's funny because when you were doing that podcast, it was simultaneous with Dark Side of the Ring, and that blew up. And I think the only difference was that they kind of did their investigations, but with witness testimonies that weren't necessarily always accurate, but they would bring in a Jim Cornette or somebody from that time or the family members of the victim. Did you think about ever doing that on your podcast, or did you find Dark Side of the Ring to be a little too competitive? Say, listen, we're doing our own thing here. I don't want to bring in another party that's going to muddy the waters of our investigation.
Well, the Dark Side of the Ring was funny because the one thing I remember the most is the New Jack and the Vic Grimes situation. And when they told the story, I watched it because I thought they were going to talk about the Baldies and how it inspired and, what happened when, what was the reason why Vic Grimes fell off that top rope?
Right.
Did they know I was supposed to fall off that?
A little sidebar on the ball, give you a little shine.
Yeah,
nothing.
Because I was supposed to be the one that fell off. That was my idea, to fall off the scaffold. The only reason. Okay, let me tell you this story. A long time ago, we did a house show, and the same scaffold type of thing, but it was only two, so it was high but not that high. Me and Jack got up there, we started fighting, and when the thing shook, I freaking collapsed, and I dropped to my knees. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of instability. So I was like, and Jack's hitting me, and he's like, I'm gonna throw you up. I'm like, no, Jack, I can't do it. So he laughed, and he goes, just throw me off. And I hit him, and I threw him off DeVito and Vic Grimes' car.
Yeah.
So then I realized, okay, if I'm gonna do something like this, when we went to the Danbury show, we saw the scaffold, but that was like four, I think it was 3 or 4. And I'm looking up, and I said, I can do it if you could put a piece of plywood in that centerpiece to give it enough balance. And if we put the tables side by side and in that effect, and then at the bottom this way and at the top this way, Jack could suplex me and the tables would break or fall. So the ring crew, I said, hey, get the plywood, did all this and then all that stuff. So when they came back, they said, hey man, we didn't have a chance to go to Home Depot or Lowe's to get the wood. We didn't have enough time. Right. So I'm like,
it was just stacked tables. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't feel comfortable because it's stable. And that's when Vic was like, I'll do it. And I'm like, what? He goes, I'll do it.
But that's a different spot though, because originally I think it was at Living Dangerously. You had taken that bump of New Jack diving off the balcony, and you were stacked on like 2 tables. Wasn't that you?
Yeah, but I think it was only 1 table. But the thing is, I mean, I could catch Jack all day from
and that's the point. You talk about stability. You're already on the ground. I'm like, I'll just fucking brace myself for the hit. To be up there, I've got the fear of falling. And when you don't have that stability, anything can happen.
Yeah, and it was not afraid of falling. It's just that it's like if you watch them, they're like this. There was no place to have a footing to get to brace to take that move. So that's and I knew that's what was going to happen. It was not Jack's fault, but it was just Vic Grimes thought he could do it, and he froze up there, and that's Jack didn't want to embarrass himself on TV.
But they sold that story that there was a backstage problem between Grimes and New Jack, and he was like, "Let me get that motherfucker to the top of the thing, and I'm gonna try to kill his ass."
The fucking the one for the XPW.
Was it XPW? I thought it was the ECW.
The bigger one, the
big one, yeah.
Yeah, that was XPW. That was XPW.
Okay. Gotcha.
The Danbury show was the ECW. What happened was the original story was that once Jack said, "Hey, I'm going to come to the ring and lay all you guys out," then me and it was supposed to be Angel, but Vic Grimes, we're going to fall and everybody's laid out. We're going to be carried out of the arena like there's really no winner. We're all just laid out. So what happened was, I got hit with the guitar, took my bump, I was out. DeVito got hit with, I can't remember, garbage can, whatever, he was out. So him and Vic went, and when he fell and crushed Jack's skull, Vic got up, and you can watch the video, he pounds his head and does this, and that was part of the heat. Like, we were supposed to be laid, everybody was supposed to be laid out. So then when he went to the back and Jack went to the hospital, he started blaming Jack. Oh, well, it's Jack's fault, and and this and that. And the boys, Vic was still not part of the fold 100%. He was just getting in there. So, it's just like, like, I know you for 30 years and I know this dude for 5 years. It's like, dude, you can't, I'm going to go to you if the guy was talking crap about you. But so the word got back to Jack, like, yo, man, he said it was your fault and all this stuff. He goes, what the fuck you talking about? And it was in the Burt Flickinger Center. It was months later. I'm talking like SpongeBob, 3-5 months later.
Right.
I'm in the locker room and sitting in tying my boots. The locker's behind me, just like a high school locker with the bench in front of you. And on the other side was Vic, because he walked by me and sat on the other side. So I'm tying my boot, maybe like 20 minutes pass, and I look up and here's Jack walking by. And I go, hey, what up, Jack? And he goes, yo, what up? Went around the corner as I'm tying my boot, I hear slap, and I feel the locker just go like this.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So when I stood up and went look around, they're like in each other's face, like, yo, Jack, why you had to do that, man? I'll fucking cut you like a pig. I'll fucking kill you. And then they had to pull him off. So the match was going to be, what was going to happen is that Vic was supposed to get hit with the guitar. And Jack said he was going to kill him and all this. He was going to stab him. So Paul came up to us and said, hey, Angel, we're going to change the ending. We want you to take the guitar shot. When Jack music hits, Vic, you take a powder. You leave and take off. Angel takes the ending. So, okay, whatever. So when I went back to the, hey, Jack, just want to let you know, at the time he had a guitar and he put a brick in it. He put a bowling pin in it. True story. He shoved the bowling pin in it.
Shit.
He what else was it? It was just, he was putting like arsenal in there, and he taped it up with
heavy.
Yeah, he was wrapping it up with electrical tape that will have any give. So anyway, I go up to him as he's doing this, and I say, hey, Jack, and he said, man, I'm gonna fucking kill that fat fuck. I'm telling you, Angel, he's done. And I say, hey, man, just to let you know, man, things change. And I told him the story. Hey, once your music hits, Vic takes off, I take the hit. So he goes and argues with Paul. Paul's like, no, he's going to leave. Fuck that. And Jack's yelling, da-da-da-da. Oh, he comes back to me. He said, that's fucking bullshit, and da-da-da. And then I'm trying to interrupt Jack, like, hey, Jack. And he kept cursing. And I'm like, yeah, but Jack, what, motherfucker? And I said, bro, yo, can you take the bricks and the fucking mallets that are in the guitar? Because I'm going to take the guitar shot. Regardless, he took all that shit up. But since he taped it up, that thing fucking still fucked me up. I mean,
you can tell. Yeah, you can tell. You see your neck just fucking cave a little bit. Like, oh, all right, yeah, I'm gonna fall back down.
Yeah, he didn't really. I mean, hurt, but it just didn't really. Yeah. And that's what built up to. And then Vic got fired.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was never brought back because they knew his life was in danger, and Jack would have, eventually would have got his hands on him.
Yeah, that would have been a different episode of Dark Side.
Yeah, so Vic was gone, and then years later, XPW,
they
and
caught
Jack
up there.
And then Jack did the fucking the Billy Bats thing, fucking oh no, we're cool, man. Everything's gravy. Weeks and weeks, and man, hugs and stuff. And yeah, we're gonna do a good match. This is what's gonna happen. And Jack got his revenge. He fooled him.
Dude, it's funny because you look at wrestling as sports entertainment, but you don't realize that when there's fucking heat, there's nobody to interfere in that. I mean, I guess, and especially in this generation now, they're like, oh, you see what happened with CM Punk backstage with the Bucks or with Jack Perry? Like, yeah, but it's a professional organization. When you're a bunch of renegades in ECW, Atlas ain't getting involved with what's going on backstage. Atlas is handling the fucking people jumping over the barricade. You got heat backstage. That's your ass. You got to man up.
Yeah.
I don't know how more shit didn't come out of that era, that generation. How much more violence, how many more fucking funerals we could have gone to with all the shit that just went down. It was unregulated.
But it's funny. It's in the locker room. It was a disgruntled family, and then the thing was, I have no negative stories being in the locker. We were a family. If one guy got into a bar fight, we all jumped in. So just like the freaking California with the XPW guys in the front row, and they touched Francine, and everybody came out and beat their ass. we were just a family, and it just But sometimes when fights happen and fights with family, we just keep it under wraps. Besides Vic.
So when you were doing the podcast, Wrestling with Tragedy, what was one of the tragedies that you thought was the best episodes that you had? That you really got a good deep dive, you got a good vibe out of it, and you feel like you really educated the viewer?
Oh, man, there's so many, man. I want to say the Chris Benoit story.
Yeah, that's obvious.
That's like, yeah, that's
a true tragedy.
Yeah, it's
Chris Benoit, Owen Hart, Bruiser Brody. You could even look at China a bit. But there's some that are legitimate tragedies. But one that really was more controversy that you really delved into that doesn't have such a fatal ending.
I think we did one, if I recall, just the Chris Candido and Tammy.
Okay, on their relationship and
on their relationship and how it transpired and stuff.
Okay,
I mean, because like the Chris Benoit, I met Chris Benoit, nicest guy on the planet. Yeah. Just like talking to you right now, nice. But when that happened, I'm like, what the fuck, Candido, great guy, nice guy. Tammy didn't really talk much. So I don't have my opinion about him, but nice guy. But then when you see like him dying and all this stuff, like how his woman treated him, and Just Incredible, it's on a podcast that she was in the shower and she's like, hey, why don't you fuck me here while he's in the shower? I mean, come on, dude. That's some fucked up shit too. So I think that was one, because again, at the time, that was before the car accident of her demise. But it was something that's why you don't have your girlfriend in the business, man. You don't date, you don't shit where you eat.
That's another topic I gotta talk to you about. But before we get there, like you said, with Tammy's demise, did you get to see any of the video when they sentenced her?
Oh, fuck yeah. I was watching that shit just because, dude, I mean, she was apologizing. She wanted to be some type of, what was it, a doctor or
some shit like that. And now she wants to be a counselor. And the game was like, yo, you just killed somebody. You want to fuck. And listen, Tammy was a friend of mine. And I'm not going to say was, still is. What happened to her is unfortunate. I had no involvement in that. But what bothered me was when she was up there, she was using the tragedy of Chris dying for her spiraling out of control. Chris was alive when you were fucking Shawn Michaels and everybody in the WWE, and he had to go to ECW because they were like, yo, we're fucking your girl. You're not doing anything about it.
And that's something I can't stomach because I hate saying it, but it's just like me. If somebody was fucking my girl and I'm the laughing stock, and they're pretending to be my friend, but they're not. And every time I walk away, they're talking behind my back. I'm just saying that's just my perspective on how I look at it for myself. But like I said, he was a nice guy, real quiet. I mean, funny. But Johnny used to tell me like pussy pulls more than a tugboat. And when you let that control your life, and I hate sounding like I'm being like that, but it goes both ways, men or female. You can't let your partner control your life. It's that's the word, partner. There's no leader of the group. There's no alpha male or alpha, partners. And again, I will never do that in the business, but if you're going to date somebody in business, then man, that's not rent roll.
So here's the funny thing. Is like anytime you watch a Tammy interview, she's always talking about the heat that she had with Sable. And the irony there is that they had something parallel happen to each other. Like, obviously, Tammy gets there. She gets big as Sonny, starts fucking around with Shawn Michaels. He's the face of the company at the time, right?
Yeah.
But look at where her career went, as opposed to Sable, who Mark Merrow's injured. She's still on the road for WWE, starts hooking up with Brock Lesnar. Not that that her career spiraled out of control, but she was like, hey, I did all right for myself. Now, that's a two-part question. One, would you have done a Wrestling with Tragedy on the relationship of Merrow and Sable, or the triangle with Brock Lesnar involved? And two, I definitely want to talk about bringing your wife or your significant other into the business and the horrors that you've seen.
Well, the one thing about the Merrow thing, I probably would have done it because, again, it's just it's almost an Edge and Matt Hardy situation.
And Lita,
yeah, it's just because Mark Merrow, I'm not saying he wasn't not a nobody, but Brock Lesnar was the alpha in that thing. So he didn't have nothing to say. I did see an interview with him saying like, he was not going to fucking fight Brock Lesnar, for that. So he just let it go. But
that's your wife. What would you do? What would you, if you like, you brought, and then you're like, I think I'd have to punch her first.
One, I would have never done it. That's one. But
Right.
two, let's just go to the far left. If I did, then I have to redeem myself regardless, because if I let it slide, that means that I'm just come on, man. We're from
Right.
New York, man. If you let
No, of
something
course.
slide, they're gonna say you're soft. You back down. So just like Chris Jericho said, when he was gonna fight Brock Lesnar, I know I got my ass whipped, but I would have fucking bit his nose off.
Yeah.
You have to leave
Yeah, you
some
get
type
dirty.
yeah, man. You got to leave a mark, man. Even if you got your ass kicked, you want to man, he fucking split my head open with a chair, and he still kept coming back the next day, and he kept coming back the next day. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's like the bully in school that just walks up to your shit like, yo, I'm taxing that. I'm taking your lunch. And then you come in every day like, yeah, he did that to me yesterday. And everybody saw it. This is your girl. This is your wife. You got a family. You own a house with her. You have children with her. He's like, yo, she's hot. I'm taking that. Thank you. Taxing it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do nothing? Dude, I probably would have murdered him. I would have broken his shit up in the fucking locker. I don't care what it would have taken. I would have fucked him up.
Yeah.
Or I would have found out if he had other kid, I would have fucked his daughter. But have you seen his daughter? Did you see the pictures recently?
Looks just like him.
Yo, that's scary. I wouldn't be fucking that girl.
Yeah.
Brock's daughter's off the chain.
And she fucking broke the record and stuff like that.
Oh, some putt shot or something. Yo, it's
put,
Brock and drag. It's
Yeah.
Brock and drag. I can't do that. That's fucking.
And she's built too.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You saw a lot of it. People bringing and I can understand. Like you mentioned the Edge and Matt Hardy and Lita triangle, but they're all workers. It's what's sad is when it's someone that you're bringing from outside who's not even involved in the business, and it's your wife, and she's just hanging around the boys, and the boys didn't have the fucking respect to like, oh, that's so and so's wife. Yeah, you don't fuck around with that. They would fucking do it anyway. They don't give a shit.
Well, two incidents happened for me once. My ex-wife, before I became the Baldies, Kingpin, and I was wrestling in Brooklyn. I think it was Tony Rambo and Kid USA, and I got hit in the head with a chair, and it split my head open. I got the scar, and I was bleeding everywhere. I'm talking like this crime scene. So when I was taken to the back, my wife went there, and the guys were like, "Hey, you can't come in. It's only wrestling." She's like, "Fuck you. I'm gonna go in," and nobody said anything, and she was just there to consult me and be like, "Oh, you okay?" Right. I probably had a concussion at the time. Then another story was, you bring your girlfriend in the locker room. I was getting dressed, and I was just cursing up a storm. And my friend was dating a stripper. He was a manager at a strip club, and the girl he was dating was a stripper. And when she came in anyway, before I found out she was a stripper, she's like, "Hey, you need to fucking just tone it down. There's a lady in here. You just need to show some respect," kind of like the woke thing before woke was happening.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck? So then when she left, and I said to my friend, I'm like, "Hey, I don't want to throw his name out because then damn, put me on blast." But he's like, I said, "Yo, what the fuck is up with that chick?" And he's like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend, man. One of the strippers that I'm dating, and she's got offended that you were cursing." So I got pissed. So when I got in the ring and I said, "Let me explain something to you. You don't come in my locker room and tell me how to act, how to talk, because it's my fucking locker room. You don't see me coming to the titty bar telling you how to fucking climb up that pole. And I'm talking to you, bitch." And I pointed out, and all the people looked at her, and she went to the back. "I can't believe you let him say that." And he's like, started laughing and stuff like that. So one, you do not bring your woman in the locker room because the boys don't care.
Yeah.
And because the rule is, if you bring your girlfriend in the locker room or your wife, then you don't have respect for her. That's
of course. I would never bring
unless you got your head split open or you got hurt. That's a different story.
Right. Like I would bring my wife to the show, and she was my girlfriend at the time. But I'd bring her to the shows, and she just sit because she wanted to see me perform. And then I started to realize, I was like, I don't feel right here, because my eyes aren't locked in. Macho Man had it right. He used to lock Elizabeth up in a fucking broom closet when she was in the ring. He's like, fucking move to that corner. Move over here. Now I'm just like, when not in the line of sight, and you got to be able to trust your partner too. But at the same time, I don't know, man. It's just such a fucking disgusting business, especially when you're in a relationship. And that's why they never last. They never last at all.
Yeah. Like I said, my ex-wife never came to the locker room besides my head split open. I said, "If you need anything, you go to the security, tell them to come get me, and I'll come out." But you don't come in the locker room. And she never did. And it was not being like telling her what to do. It's just, I said, it's just a respect.
Yeah.
And she understood.
Yeah, no. I can't blame it, man. You, like I said, like we mentioned before, you've seen a lot of shit in the back, and having a podcast. Let's talk about wrestling. And I know you're not doing it anymore, the Wrestling with Tragedy, but when you're doing that, and the people that you're talking about, the subjects of your podcast, they're still alive. and then you go to a convention and maybe they caught the cast and they weren't fucking happy with what you said. How did you deal with that? Was there a bro code that they felt that you broke? Did anybody ever approach you and say, "Yo, man, I saw what you were saying about me and my situation. I didn't appreciate that." And anything, any backlash?
No, because I always talked about everybody with respect. And I mean, and the only reason what I'm talking about is already out there in the airwaves. I'm just regurgitating what I found and the information I found.
Right, you're sharing your opinion. But what if they didn't agree with your opinion?
Then fuck them.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that. Fuck them.
I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but if you come on, man, I can't believe you said this about, about me and stuff. I said, well, hey, that's how I felt at the time, man. I just think what you did was wrong. You know what I mean? Like let's say New Jack was still alive and the mass transit incident occurred. And I'm like, man, that's fucked up, dude. I can't believe Jack did that. Whatever came out. And he would have came out to me, but Jack had a lot of respect for me. But if he would have come in, yo, man, I can't believe you said that. But Jack, I was just talking about the truth. It's not like it didn't happen. But I always talked in a respectful way. So even when I came across individuals, they never brought it off. Like Buff Bagwell, I cursed, said a lot of shit about him, and because him and Kiwi. Oh, my favorite story is like that. I was an instigator. You know how I'm kind of an instigator.
Yeah, you always talk.
And he told me he had heat. Kiwi said he had heat with Buff Bagwell, and they were gonna, and we just kept egging him on and shit. Like, and he goes, man, I can't fucking stand him. I'm doing the autograph signing with him and stuff. And I said, man, don't chip your teeth at him, man. Something happened where Buff said something to him, and on the show of a show that it was a show that he was on, and he mentioned Kiwi about our show, and because the podcasters saw the show and they told them the story that Kiwi said. So he was talking this shit about Kiwi. After that, he goes, "I'll fuck about whatever." So when we had our show, he's like, "Man, did you hear about so and so saying this about you?" He's like, "Man, fuck that. I'll see that motherfucker next week at an autograph signing." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, man, fuck that. I'm gonna give him a piece of my." I said, "Look, bro, we're just doing a podcast. Don't get all your feelings involved and go to the show and get your ass kicked and get stomped out by fucking Buff Bagwell because he's the stuff and you don't want none of that."
He's the stuff.
and he's like, "Man,
why did I think of that?"
And he goes, "Man, fuck that motherfucker. That's a shoot. I'm gonna fucking." And there's a video.
But you realize you're egging him on. You say he's the stuff. You really don't.
So there was a video that he recorded. He recorded with the guy. I gotta send you. I gotta find it. But he recorded it. And he was cursing the shit out of Bagwell. And he goes, "Why'd you fucking come in, you piece of shit? I will fuck you up."
The following week at the signing, he saw him cut the promo.
Yeah. And he recorded it, and he recorded it for us. And he's like, "And you fat fuck." And he thought the guy was with him, the guy doing the podcast. Right. But they kind of look alike. So, "You fat fuck, you telling this?" He goes, "They wasn't fucking me. Shut the fuck up before I fuck you up." and then Bagwell, had some back issues because you could see him walking funny.
Yeah,
yeah. Said, "Man, I'll kick your ass." And he goes, "Yeah, you talk a good game, Kiwi, and all this stuff." And so anyway, after that argument, he turned to the camera and he goes, "Yeah, I confronted that motherfucker and he didn't do shit. And that was a shoot." And then we did the show the next week. Like, "Oh yeah, you really did something. You really did what you said you was gonna do." So that's the only time, man.
Like fucking Wonder Wolf. Let's go to the videotape, right?
I love Kiwi, man. Kiwi is a fucking like a stick of dynamite, man. He's awesome,
bro.
I love that guy.
And you fucking dude, you're the master at egging motherfuckers on to do some shit. It's just like, and you do it in such a subtle way. Like you never get like, yo, fuck this dude up. I got your back. It's always like, hey man, I'm just saying, if it were me, I wouldn't have said that. I think he might have said something, but dude, you got the most subtle way to stir the fucking pot. It's hysterical.
I did that in New Orleans. Well, no, Baton Rouge, and DeVito and Vito were arguing, and Vito was like, just saying his piece, like, "Hey man, I've been in the business for so many years. I've been in WWE," and DeVito's like, "Yo, I was in WWE too, motherfucker," and and he's like, "Yeah, man, but whatever." And I said, "DeVito, he does have a lot more time than you had in WWE, so you should listen." And Vito's Italian, so he's getting all hot and shit. And then Vito will say something, and I'm like, "You really gonna let him say that to you, man? That's kind of fucked up." I guess what he's saying is the truth, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he's just like arguing. I'm tying my shoes and shit, and he knew I was egging him on. But DeVito used to get just fucking hot. Dude, that's why they don't get along to this day.
They still don't speak to this day?
They'll do You know, the head
So
nod.
yeah, they're knowledge, but they're not boys. Oh man,
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
DeVito can't stand him. Vito's like, Vito don't care. You know, he's like, ain't no loss in my life. You know.
Yo, it's funny because people are always asking about that. Back when I was doing pseudo, and you and DeVito came on the show, and we ran that spot where you guys attacked the cameraman. They're
I
like, "Yo,
remember.
was that for real?" You remember that? Dude,
Yeah,
I put it on YouTube recently, and people are like, "Yo, was that for real? Like, were charges pressed? What happened with the cameraman? How many stitches did he need?" I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" But you guys were legit. It was
you know, it's
believable.
funny. Like you talk about pseudo. Yeah, it was fun. And like I said, I remember when we left the studio, like not leaving, we're just walking out the door because we were going to your office. And I look, and it's fucking Luke from fucking Two Live Crew coming out of one of those some podcast.
Yeah,
I still
88 hip
remember
hop, right?
the other I keep saying podcast, but show called Cherry Bomb. I still
Cherry
remember that
Bomb,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
right
because I
after me,
actually I
yeah.
said, hey, what's that? You said, oh, Cherry Bomb. The women are talking about sex toys or some shit. And I'm like, really? You know,
I'll stick
so now,
around. Yeah.
yeah, that's still always, and you always had action figures, and you always had like free shit,
Right, I'm giving shit away and throwing it away. Fucking thing.
dude. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I know we talked off the air, and I mean, it's
Mhm.
just that, man. Like I said, man, I could close my eyes and just remember you, like I said, on the cuff. You would have been the Ted Turner of podcasting. I mean, you're doing great now, but I mean, if at that time, if this time happened now, I see you like
Yeah.
the Joe
Yeah, I
Rogan
appreciate it,
of
man. I
pod-
appreciate it. You know, the
because you
funny
were
is,
there, man. There's nothing to lie
it
about.
was
It's just you
the
were
very
there.
beginning. It was the
Yeah,
very beginning of internet entertainment. Like it started as a
yeah,
radio show, and then it morphed into the first ever TV shows. But because the bandwidth was still on a real player, so you had all that buffering and shit. It wasn't crisp, and everybody wanted to do what we were doing, and their companies would fail. But because they were using pseudo as the model, say we want to do what they're doing, we build a studio and have programming at certain times. It was like must see TV, but on the internet. But again, if you can't watch it because the technology isn't there, the modem was still fucking AOL, having to boot up on a router. It was a mess. But then because there were so many other companies trying to do what we were doing, the investors would put their money into all these companies and they'd fall, and that was the .com bubble, and I was a
yeah.
victim of that. Pseudo ended up closing down, but I got my job with WCW because I was the first ever to
Never
do
called.
wrestling content on the internet, and I would call them live on the air. They came up with their show like, oh, we're gonna do this from live from the WCW studio or the power plant, wherever the fuck it was,
Yeah,
and it's the first ever wrestling radio show. I was like, whoa, nah. Cut that shit. So I would call them live on the air to cut their phone. I was, I want to talk to Tom Hunt. I want to talk to Dave Pava, whoever the fuck is in charge. Put Chad Damiani on. I want all these guys. And I would leave them messages. And I come home one day and my answer machine, beep, beep, beep. I check it. Oh, this is so-and-so with WCW. We'd like to have a conversation with you. I was like, that's it. I'm getting sued. I'm done. I made my name by getting sued. They were like, look, we know you're the first, but we're WCW, so would you shut the fuck up if we gave you a job? I was like, absolutely. Hell yeah, when do I
that's
start?
awesome. You know, it's funny. In my garage, I have my box of memories is in a fucking
Uh-huh.
plastic bin. In that box is Johnny Roz gave me an agenda book, a leather agenda book with my initials on it.
Okay.
You know, now you have your phone, but back then you just get like the 24, 2023, whatever.
Right.
And in the beginning of that book is all the business cards that I got and all my shows and stuff.
Mhm.
I never got rid of it.
Yeah.
And Pseudo, I still have the card from
Still
Pseudo
got it.
in the binder, in the little card things.
Yeah.
And all the cards I got from everybody, I just left it there because that's where it ended. And that's where it stayed.
Yeah.
And it's a little
It's
memory
a little
thing.
history, man.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a similar thing. I guess they sell these it's like sleeves that we could slide the card in, but I put them in a binder.
Yeah.
And every time I had a meeting with the WWE, who I met with, the first time I met Vince Russo, because that was my thing back in the '90s. In order, like, there was no social media. I couldn't just hit you up in the DMs, or I just couldn't say something and hope that you would read my post or my tweet or whatever the case is. You would literally have to knock on a fucking door or call the office and bullshit your way through to get somebody on the line. Or when I would go to the live events at the Garden, I would see like who's standing by security, and like Susan Atchison, she just went to the Hall of Fame with the Warriors Recipient Award a couple of years ago, and she was one of my connects over there because I would call up and say, "Look, Susan, I know that you can't send talent to this school that I'm gonna go do like a talk to these children about no violence and all this other shit like that. But can you send me a box of merchandise and autograph photos so that's just to give the presence that WWE was there and involved. And she would send me shit all the fucking time. So I always had a connection with Jay Andronico, who ended up working for Acclaim when ECW had the video game come out. He ended up jumping from WWE to ECW, did the whole thing there, and I was like, Jay, why would you always show me? He was like, dude, you were my fucking competition. I couldn't give you anything with WWE, even though they would invite me over to like the press conferences at the Harley Davidson for Mania, and a couple of other shots that they did when they were in Times Square. But what I'm saying though is that my whole thing was meeting people, shaking their hands, letting them see my face, giving them that quick elevator pitch, but walking away with their card. So I'm saying, look, I know you're busy right now. I don't want to. Here's what I do. Here's what I'd like to do. Can we talk about this another time? I'd be more than happy to call your office. Let me know when's the best time. Yeah. And that's how we networked. And dude, I still got all the cards from all the people that I met. Every time they invited me up to Stanford, every time that they would give me tours of the studio. And I look at that, I'm like, what if? And I always think about the what if. And speaking of that, you actually have a new podcast I think that you're working on now on the Hannibal TV, Shooting from the Hip, and it covers a lot of what ifs. So if there were a multiverse, tell me about some of the episodes that you've done lately on what if or on Shooting.
Oh my God, man! Now you're gonna get kicking my CTE, man.
You like that transition? I slid that shit right in there.
But it's with Gentleman Kilby. He's one of the vice presidents of Northwest Wrestling, and man, we should talk about
that's in Canada, right?
Yeah, he's in Canada.
Northeast. Okay.
Yep, a boot. He has his
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking, and I said, "Man, I get paid bi-weekly." He's like, "Bi-weekly? What's that?" I said, "I get paid every 2 weeks." You mean fortnight? They call it fortnight. I'm like, oh man, you Canadians with your backward shit. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of episodes. I mean, now you're putting me on the spot. I just can't remember. But I think it's like we did like a Tammy one. We were gonna do
not a tragedy, or what if like if she didn't kill somebody in a vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah. What if she she kept the nose clean, she didn't sleep with Shawn Michaels, or that she really focused on her relationship and the career that they built together. I'm trying to remember some good ones. What if Ric Flair never left WCW and took the belt to Vince? What if what if the Von Erichs, what if Kerry Von Erich never, the family never died, that company became a mega company. Just so many variables. What if Macho Man didn't die? Where would his career have gone?
Right. And that's actually a great what if. And before we get into Macho Man, what we were saying before the show when you were telling me about the new venture, it's especially in this time now where comic book movies are so huge and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is building up on multiple timelines and multiverses. This is what you're doing in wrestling, where it gives you the opportunity to book the golden age of the business, knowing how it turned out, knowing what their linear story is, but what if it went a different way? And it's just such a beauty and art to it. But it's funny that you mentioned Macho Man Randy Savage, because right before his passing, he had mended fences with the WWE. He hadn't gone to the Hall of Fame yet, but he had become a spokesperson for the WWE 2K. It was like, oh my God, are we going to see fucking Randy come back? And then boom, we lose him. In your opinion, I don't know if you've done the episode yet, but what if? What do you think we would have seen Randy Savage do in WWE upon a return?
I mean, he could. I mean, he was at a certain age, but I would have seen him do like a Legends deal. I would have seen him do like all the Legends reunion when they brought back Paul Orndorff, and he had that big wacky Yosemite Sam mustache. I think he would have been like an agent or somebody behind the scenes. Probably use him once in a while, but I think he would have been like, and of course he's in the Hall of Fame, but he would have accepted his award. He would have been just treated on the Legends deal, and then help out the younger crowd. So I think I've seen a lot of that.
You think because of his persona that was so different and so unique that he would have gone the path of Ric Flair, where not necessarily wrestling in the ring, but having a more active role, on camera role?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he could have been like the Grand Wizard, during that time, as a manager.
Who do you like now? I mean, we're talking generations, and again, we've known each other 30 years, so we're probably 2 generations removed from what we grew up watching. What do you like now in the business?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Because I don't watch wrestling anymore. I catch it, but I mean, my friends like Nana and I keep in contact with a lot of people. But the thing is that it's just different, man. It's a fraternity that's just, now guys play video games and they get their feelings hurt, and it's just a different era. And
the product looks like a video game now. You see the bumps they're taking now? I mean, is this something? And I'm asking you because you're from ECW. You took some wild bumps. We just talked about the scaffold thing a little while ago, what you were prepared to do. These guys are doing it on the regular, getting powerbomb on the edge of the ring apron, taking these ridiculous bumps that even ECW legends were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? What are you getting out of this? Do you think they're spot monkeys now, that this is something necessary in order to raise the stakes and say, look, what they did was back then, but what we're doing now is more of a conscience art? Like back then you were doing things to get the shock value. Now we're not trying to shock you. We're trying to show you how athletically in tune we are.
Put it this way. There's guys like Ricochet who is phenomenal.
Love them.
But then there's guys who just want to get that spot in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Ricochet does stuff that, he defies gravity. AJ Styles. But there's guys who always do like big spots where they just trying to outdo the last guy. Because you can't, I mean, like I said, I mean, I seen, oh my God, there was one dude that he did I forgot the guy's name. He did a flip outside the ring. I think it was the guy with, no, he looks like a skull. I forgot his name. He wears the mask and it like half it, and then his mouth's painted like a skull. What's his name? He was in he's a lucha guy. He was in Lucha Underground, and he went to,
Ray Phoenix.
Oh my God, nah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know now.
They'll pop up.
I'm thinking all the spot monkeys.
But anyway, he did a move where they did a flip outside the ring and the guy's leg hit the fucking floor and broke. It's just that, they just keep trying to outdo each other, and somebody's going to end up dead. I mean, some of these moves are just crazy.
So again, generation versus generation, who would you say would be of this generation right now? You're watching TV, even though you don't have a vested interest in it. Top 5 in the business at the moment. Who do you still like to watch? Who do you think is worth your time?
Rey Mysterio, AJ Styles, Ricochet, the Usos, when they were doing the bloodline. That was a good thing. Who else? Let me see. I'm just going through my Rolodex of people. And then Nana, he's doing good, but he's not wrestling. He's managing.
Can you believe how over he is?
He's
I mean, it was only a matter of time. He's always had fucking talent. That guy's always been amazing. Always just fucking grabs the audience. But now the wave that the fans get behind him, dude, I'm so happy for him.
Well, yeah, the mask, the dance thing, the swerve dance. I mean, I just saw him like 2-3 weeks ago. It was November 4th or 5th that he came to Wichita, and we hung out for a little bit. What's funny about him is that I love him to death. Every show we're on, I mean, he always, every show, podcast, or in live, he always introduces me like, this guy right here trained me. He helped me become, no, seriously, he goes, he helped me become who I am.
Yeah.
And he always puts me over. And I'm like, dude, come on, bro. I mean, all I did was help. No, if it wasn't for you, you helped me become who I am. And he always brings that up, tells my girlfriend that, like we went to IHOP, he said, this guy right here, the man that you're with, I owe it all to him. And I'm like, fuck,
yeah,
dude.
And
And stuff.
it gets embarrassing sometimes. But it's also, you've touched somebody in a positive way. That's not going to get you in trouble.
I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, he was my friend. He still is my friend. I always helped him. I always help my friends. It was him that made himself successful. I was just there to just help him along to become better. But I appreciate all the things he says. And, he's $1 million on doing the swerve dance and is catching on. And I hope he makes a gazillion dollars. And I mean, it's his time, Good
What's
guy.
one of the greatest compliments you've gotten from? I mean, you just mentioned that with Nana, which is a tremendous compliment, especially where he's at right now and your history with him. But have you ever gotten a compliment from somebody that just hit you in the feels? You're like, wow, like that. Even if I don't make it, that's yeah. Go
Tommy
ahead.
Rogers. Tommy Rogers from the Fantastics. My first match was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I was the Spanish Angel before the Baldies, and I have it on my phone. And after, he didn't know who I was. I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. And he didn't want to go crazy. So when we started working together and doing all these moves, and he pinned me and stuff, and when he went to the back, did so much stuff, walked to the back, and he was standing behind the curtain, and he goes, bro, he gave me a hug. Thank you. If I knew you could work that, if I knew how good you worked, we would have done much more. And I was like, holy shit, and Dusty Rhodes, when he was in ECW, we did the show in Birmingham, Alabama, pay-per-view, and I had to cut a promo. And when I walked through the locker room in Philadelphia, I came through the door and he was sitting there and he goes, hey kid, come here. And I'm like, me? And he goes, yeah, come here. I saw your promo that you did for ECW in Birmingham, Alabama. And he told me what I said. And he goes, don't ever say this, say this, but you did great. It's just that little thing. If you would have done it that way, it would have been perfect.
But that's proof that he watched it, was invested in it. He says, man, this could be something. Let me go sprinkle a little of that Dusty dust.
Yeah, and Dusty was great, so
that's great.
Those are the wow factors when you get guys that you grew up with, and stuff, and idolized, and then they give you that advice that he didn't have to walk up to me. He didn't have to go, hey, kid, come in and discuss it. I'm a nobody, right. So when he took the time out of his day to tell me what he thought about my promo and gave me some insight, some criticism, I just like, wow, that was phenomenal.
Dude, and it's funny you say that. Like, that's the way I feel. Like, I'm a nobody, right? Like, I've bumped in the ring. I'm not professionally trained. I'm just a character that connects with people. And I always get that response back, dude, you're so far, I didn't know. And oh my God, when you grab the mic, the things that you say, the way you flow. And I appreciate that, and I really do. Yeah. And not to sound like an asshole, I know that I have that talent, right? But there was one time, it was when I first relocated down here to Tampa, and we went to this sci-fi horror convention. A couple of years prior to that, about almost 10 years prior to that, I had done work with Roddy Piper. And you, for the fans out there watching now, it's on the YouTube channel right now. You can check it out. It's called Piper Visions, unreleased stuff. I just dropped it recently. I was with Roddy Piper on the day that he got fired from WWE. Vince called him directly. We're in the middle of shooting, and he fired him for the things that he said on Real Sports with Brian Gumble. Yeah. So I was dealing with Roddy at a time where he was like, fuck, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to take care of certain things? And I spent that entire weekend with him. We're building things. We're talking. We're producing. 10 years had passed. I relocate to Tampa. He's signing autographs as a wrestler and also as a movie star. Go online. The guy's like, oh, $25 for it. I was like, no. I said, I've worked with Roddy in the past. I worked with him a little bit in WCW too. I said, I just want to say hi. My son is small. He fucking sees me. He comes over. He goes, dude, I remember we were in New York. I remember we did this. I wish we could have done more. That's on me. I own that. I should have fucking come to you. I should have fucking listened to you. And he's telling me all these things. But then he looks at my son, Roddy Piper, the guy who never laid his fucking shoulders out on the mat for anybody, grabs my son. He goes, I want you to know your father's awesome, and I love you for it. And, dude, my fucking heart melted. I had tears in my eyes to hear that, not telling me that I'm on, but to tell my son, to put me over to my son. Yeah. And he died literally a few months later. And dude, fucking crushed me and devastated me. I love that guy to death.
That's like the like he left a message on Hogan's Answer Machine. I'm walking with Jesus, but that was after he died. Yeah, one of those creepy.
Bro, how eerie was that Ultimate Warrior promo on Raw, and then he dies the next day? So some people take their last breath, and this, that, the other, and the Warrior will live. I was like, what? And then the next day, he fucking died? What? How? Yeah. Unbelievable, bro. Listen, I know you're busy, man. You got a lot of shit going on. Dude, we can talk for hours. I want to do another episode with you.
Derek, we'll discuss. You don't have to ask me. You know I'm always accessible to you. You don't have to say, hey, can you just can you come on my show? Because like I said, we've been friends for 30 years. Yeah. I always think about you. I always, even though we don't talk much, I always like my favorite time is when you said, hey. You posted on Facebook and you posted the elevator and elevator, and he goes, "Name this movie."
Oh.
And I said, and I threw a picture of the movie and thinking,
yeah.
And I said, and he goes, "Oh, Andrew, you knew it." And that's the thing about you, man. You could do wrestling, you could do horror, you could do music, all those movies. Any podcast that you touch is always going to be gold, man, because you have the talent, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And it's funny, we're talking about putting people over, and I wanted to close the show doing that and telling you how much I appreciate your friendship, because I've been in the business long. I've been in the business since '92, and I don't even like saying that I'm in the business because I'm not actively involved in doing things now, but I've been around it. I've been involved. I've done things, and my phone blows up all the fucking time when I'm running NWA Cyberspace, or I'm running a promotion, or I'm doing something where people see a paycheck. But you're that rare guy that just wants to be my fucking friend. You're that rare guy that when I was at Pseudo, you were in the neighborhood, you're like, "Yo, you want to go have lunch?" Fuck yeah, because we're boys. You never asked for anything, and you were always there. And we've had this relationship, and like you said, even though we don't speak for a couple of years or whatever the case may be, we always pick up where we left off. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, and I'm wishing you the best of luck. And bro, like you said, you've got the talent too. You're articulate. You know this business. You offer so much of this business from different aspects of being in it, looking at it from the outside, and being too creative to deconstruct it and re-engineer, build it. And dude, I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you so much for coming on. Before I let you go, I do want you to let the fans know where they can catch your podcast, where they can get in contact with you, and also if you have any tips on Dogecoin.
Dogecoin. Well, hey, man, you guys catch me on Shoot from the Hip with Gentleman Kilby. We talk about the what ifs. It's on Hannibal TV. We haven't done one. We've done one last week, but we're trying to do a Christmas one as a Christmas gimmick matches as for the holidays. You can find me on Facebook. I'm easily found. It's a.medina262. I'm not that. I'm easily found. I don't. There's a lot of weirdos that are like, "Hey, man, I get some weird questions," and I'm just like, "Oh, dude, you're killing me." But I treat everybody nice. But like, hey, you can reach out to me, man. And I don't bite. Now the Dogecoin, I don't know, man. The only thing I got is I bought some SHIB, and I've been holding on to that motherfucker. Because if I let it go, then all of a sudden it hits $1 million.
Yo, all I say, I'm the reason why I asked about Doge is because I did it too. The whole thing when GameStop was blowing up and it was all over the news. I haven't even seen the new movie, that movie Dumb Money. But when GameStop was blowing up, I'm like, yo, I really should start looking into the stock market. And you and I had talked about it when WWE first went public in the 90s. We're like, yo, we should buy some stocks. That shit's gonna blow up. And you're like, nah, I don't think it's gonna last long. I think Vince is gonna sell it. I said, Vince ain't selling shit. We're going back and forth, and then the value just starts rising. So I see the whole thing with GameStop blowing up. And I said, I didn't understand what was happening. So I'm doing my research, and they were like, oh, so-and-so said this. And then Elon Musk said, so you got to listen to what Elon usually has the inside tip. And then one day Elon goes on Twitter and just goes, Dogecoin. I was like, I'm fucking buying. I'm buying today. Dude, I bought 250 shares of Dogecoin. It currently sits at 9 cents each. I'm like, I'm waiting for it to blow.
And that's the funny thing, man. One rule of investing or buying into the stocks is you put in money that that you can lose.
Right. It's a gamble.
Yeah. It's a gamble. Just money you could throw away. Like I said, I bought SHIB. I bought Doge. I'm not going to lie. I bought $1,000 worth of Doge, and I bought $1,000 worth of SHIB.
Okay.
That's just down like $400, But I don't want to pull, as soon as I pull it out and go to bed.
It's going to shoot up. Yeah.
So it's money that I can lose. I just let it be. And hopefully, if I know I'm going to die the next day, then I'll take it out and give it to my daughter.
You're right. I'll get my $25 back.
Yeah. But that's it, man. I mean, everything's a risk, man. So sometimes you gotta just take it and see what it takes you, man. Just like wrestling, man. If it wasn't for wrestling, put it this way, I would have not ended up in Kansas. I would never have my daughter. If I would have stayed where I was in the business, I could have been somebody. I mean, I still am, but I would have not had my kid. I made some choices, and it was worth it. Do I think about it? Yeah, I could have been this. I could have been that. But now it's my daughter's time.
Yeah. And I tell everybody that we talked earlier. We're talking about where I should have been since I was there in the beginning, the founding father of wrestling podcasting on the internet. And then I look at my kids, and I'm like, do I want to be that story where I was like, oh, dad was always on the road, or dad was out there making, and I barely know my father. I don't have that relationship. I don't have the memories. I don't have any regrets. Yeah, I could have done something bigger. I could have made it higher, and I touched the brass ring, but I didn't grab it. But it would have been at the expense of my family. It would have been at the expense of my kids not having me, and I don't have any fucking regrets at all.
Things happen for a reason, but like I said before, you know, you're so talented. Like I said, you know, you could pick up right now and just take off. So I mean, now that your kids are grown, you still hang out with them. Now they're grown. Now you could do your thing. Like now Leah's 18. She's still a daddy's girl, but now
she's 23, bro.
No,
Nico just turned 18. Yeah.
Well, Leah's 18.
My daughter's 23.
23, yeah.
Oh, wait, your daughter's, how old's your daughter?
My daughter's 18.
Your daughter's 18. Okay. Gotcha.
So
I figured
your
daughter
daughter,
have the same name.
On Facebook, I remember when she had her first. You posted her getting her a drink or something, and you know, like I said, I follow you, man. I bump into it. I just don't make any comments because then I go to Facebook jail for some stupid reason. So I just keep my mouth shut.
Listen, bro, your family. You can say whatever you want on my page. I welcome it. I would love to hear from you.
But yeah, 23, man. She's still living with you?
She just came back. Yeah, she just came back. She had a falling out with her boyfriend, and they gave up the apartment. And she came back home. So it's good to have them back under the roof because, dude, you know. My circle's very small, so I created people that I want that's gonna love me unconditionally for the rest of my life, and that's my home team. And we use that as a thing, #home team, because and when we got the 4 of us here, it breaks my heart because I'm such a little bitch that when she had a boyfriend, I was like, oh, she's taking time away from me. Or my son just making friends, going around like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? I got nobody, but they gotta live their lives, man. But I love having my crew together.
No, absolutely, man. And I told Leah, like, she's in college now, but it's not that far. She's in the dorms. But I always say, hey, you can move back in, man. Once you get out, graduate from college, you can move in, save your money, man. Throw like $300 a month for groceries, but save your money. And that's what she does. She saves so she can have a nice nest egg. Yep. And the kid is smart, man. And I did right,
Good,
stuff.
man. Listen,
but I know, I know you're busy.
Oh, don't worry about me, guy. I'm worried about you. You doing me the favor.
Oh, as soon as I get off, man, I'm just what the fuck am I gonna do? Oh yeah, I'm gonna walk on the treadmill and lift some weights, but that's it.
Well, brother, let's do this again. Let's stay in contact more consistently. Let's do this again. I mean, now that our kids are older, we don't have any excuse. We just got each other, so let's fucking make something out of it.
I mean, you still have my phone number. I never changed it.
100%.
And you know me, I'm accessible, bro. You just reach out to me and I'll answer.
Same here, brother. Right, love you.
Thank you so much. Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Kingpin himself, Angel Medina. Make sure you check out his podcast. Make sure that you follow him on all the socials and make sure that you're showing him the love. Don't forget to subscribe right here on the Midnight Hustle channel. Don't forget to check out the videos, like, subscribe, put the notifications on, do all that good shit because it helps out the algorithms and it helps me bring you great quality content like I got my brother right here. That's it for today. Angel, again, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up. Can you dig it? We're out of here. Peace.
Can you dig it?